My name is Mara Ellison, and I'm 30. If you'd asked me a season ago to describe my life, I would have said it in small, honest rooms, a steady job that pays the rent on time, groceries that fit in 2 canvas bags, a car that starts even on cold mornings. Then the test turned positive, 2 pink lines like a door opening, and the rooms grew bigger in my head. A crib by the window, the soft thud of tiny socks in the dryer, a new heartbeat next to mine. Noah cried when I told him. He's the kind of man who eats the strawberry off your plate and swears it's because he loves you. We met on a Tuesday in a break room with a dying microwave, trading jokes about burnt popcorn and stubborn software. He made me feel chosen without spectacle. I liked the quiet of that. When Linda, his mom, announced she would be coming to stay for the last trimester, I practiced gratitude out loud and skepticism in my head. She works at a deaf center out of state. She's hard of hearing herself and moves through rooms with the confident bustle of someone who believes she can make anything better if she organizes it enough. She hugged Noah like he'd won something and hugged me like I'd borrowed it. On day 1, she signed to him while standing in my kitchen, hands fast, decisive, without looking at me. The movement was familiar. My grandmother raised me half my childhood, and I learned to sign before I knew my times tables. But I keep that to myself. You don't announce every language you understand. Sometimes understanding is safer when it's quiet. Linda's fingers flashed. Small house. Noah's reply. Enough for now. They could have said it out loud. They didn't. The first weeks were mostly nursery plans and swollen feet and the way the apartment learned our new orbit. I assembled drawers. Noah installed a shelf and misread the level. Linda reorganized the kitchen and called it a blessing. She signed a lot. To Noah. Over me. Around me. A current I pretended not to feel tugging at my ankles. It wasn't the signing that hurt. It was the secrecy where there didn't need to be any. On a Wednesday afternoon, while I was folding onesies at the dining table, laughter popped from the kitchen. Sharp, guilty bubbles. The living room mirror caught the angle of their hands. Not my baby. Noah, quick slash of denial. And a name I hadn't heard in months. Camille. Linda's thumbs brushed her chin. Be careful. Keep quiet. Then the softened smile they always put on when I walked in. Tea? I asked, voice steady enough to stack. Please, Linda said brightly, switching to speech like a stage cue. Decaf for me. Noah kissed my temple, casual. You okay? I'm fine, I said, always. I brewed 3 mugs with hands that didn't tremble and set them on the counter like offerings. In the glass of the kettle, their reflections kept talking when their mouths did not. I stared at the steam and translated a life I hadn't agreed to. That night, I lay on my left side, the way the book said, listening to Noah's breath, even out 2 inches from my ear. The baby rolled inside me like a wave's soft fist. I thought about my grandmother's hands, the way she used to sign love, like it was a permission and a protection. I thought about Noah's hands that afternoon in my kitchen, the way they had spelled out a future where he wasn't responsible for the heartbeat inside me, not my baby. I stared into the dark and decided 3 things. 1. I would not ask. People who lie are artists. They start painting the second you hand them a blank wall. 2. I would collect proof until it outweighed the room. 3. When I spoke, it would be in a language no one could misunderstand. The next day I texted my sister Lena, "Dinner Friday? Bring your big listening eyes." She learned to sign with me as kids, the way some sisters learn to share headphones. She's the kind of woman who reads every exit sign and still enjoys the movie. When she arrived, she hugged me, like an oath, and handed me a paper bag with ginger cookies and antacids. Linda beamed. "What a sweet sister," she said aloud, then turned to Noah and signed, "Don't mention anything. She won't notice." Lena's face didn't change. She complimented Linda's pasta. She asked Noah about work. She asked me about the babies kicking like I hadn't slept beside a secret for a week. At the table, the show began. Linda's hands moved like she was shuffling cards only Noah should see. After payday, ask. She's grateful. She won't question. Noah's reply, I'll handle. Camille, later. I tasted metal under my tongue and smiled through it. After dishes, Linda announced she was organizing the nursery, which meant rearranging things I'd already placed, and Noah followed to help. Lena and I sat on the porch with 2 mugs and the honest air. You caught it? I asked. I caught all of it, she said, and then some. What did I miss? Lena stared into the steam and spoke like she was laying down a bridge. He signed he'll deny paternity if he has to. And Camille wasn't a memory. It was a plan. The baby turned under my hand, a ripple against the railing of my ribs. It wasn't panic I felt. Panic is loud. This was a cold, clean line being drawn across months of soft edges. Okay, I said, then we don't ask. We don't, she agreed. We build. The next morning, I called Marina Whitaker, a PI recommended by a client who'd once used the phrase domestic disaster like weather. Marina's voice was brisk, not unkind. She asked for names, dates, patterns. 2 days later, she called back with a calm that made my stomach drop. Camille's back, she said. Meetups. Restaurant cameras have them twice. Also, transfers from Noah's personal to a shared card used for hotel deposits. Amounts? Small enough to hide in groceries. Specific enough to sing in court. I thanked her and stared at the ceiling until the popcorn texture looked like a map of a country I didn't want to visit. That night, Noah suggested a movie, kissed my shoulder in the kitchen, and signed to his mother over my head while the microwave hummed, "She's fine, she's slow." Linda's reply, "Keep her happy." After birth, deny. I stirred the sauce and thought, after birth, I won't be the one denying. I needed bait, not dramatic, something that would let their greed step on its own rake. On Monday, I walked in from work holding a typed letter with our company letterhead and a smile small enough to be believable. Crazy day, I said, dropping my bag. Boss pulled me aside. With third trimester appointments and all the overtime I've been pulling, he bumped my title and gave me a bonus. Noah's eyes lit. Linda clapped once, delighted. Then her fingers started moving like a metronome. Press. She'll fold. I widened my smile like I didn't understand anything but kindness. Isn't that great? Great, Noah echoed. He hugged me. He smelled like citrus soap and the kind of relief you only feel when a plan finds its funding. That night, while they slept under my roof, I moved exactly half of our joint balance, down to the cent, into a protected account in my name. Clean. Visible. Fair. Judges dislike emptiness. I'm a woman who reads the rules before she plays the game. After I clicked transfer, I opened a fresh browser tab and typed baby monitor recommendations, loud enough for Noah to accidentally notice the next day. By Wednesday, I had decoys mounted where any anxious father could see them, and 5 actual cameras where only the truth could. By the end of the week, my apartment looked unchanged, but the walls had learned to remember. I slept on my left side. The baby shifted like a whisper. In the dark, I flexed my fingers and practiced a sentence I hadn't signed since my grandmother's funeral. I understand you. I didn't sleep that night, not because of fear, but because the decision inside me was finally still. People think betrayal is the storm, but really, it's the quiet after, when you decide what to rebuild and what to burn. By morning, I had a plan. The cameras were live. A shadow app on my phone fed every angle into a private backup folder. The decoy baby monitors displayed a harmless domestic slideshow. Empty crib, hallway light, guest room. Linda felt safe. Noah felt adored. And I kept smiling. Friday came with the same soft routines. I made oatmeal with blueberries. Noah kissed my cheek and told me I glowed. Linda rearranged the pantry for the 4th time, muttering about how new mothers lose everything. I let them rearrange and mutter and glow. I let them believe. That afternoon, Noah suggested we order takeout. I nodded, pretending I was bloated and tired, which wasn't entirely untrue. He stepped outside to call in the order, and Linda's hands began immediately. Check account? She signed. Not yet, he answered. After weekend. I sat at the counter, chewing a strawberry, eyes on my phone screen, pretending to scroll. But the mirror behind Linda showed both their hands. Camille texted, Noah signed. Tonight. My stomach didn't drop, it hardened. Linda raised her brows. Here? Noah hesitated, thumb brushing his lower lip. I used to love that gesture. Now it felt like a tell. If she leaves hotel safe. Linda's fingers were lightening. Wife slow. She won't know. I stirred my tea with an even hand and pictured Lena's face when she'd translated similar lies. I wished she were here, but I also knew I'd never forget an inch of this moment. Noah came back in with a bag of food and a cheerful voice. Friday night looked normal from the outside. We ate noodles on the couch. Linda watched reality TV. Noah rubbed my feet like small decencies could drown out treachery. I fell asleep deliberately early, head on his shoulder, breathing slow, pretending to be soft. At 10:13 p.m., I rose quietly, slipped from bed, and whispered into the baby blue glow of my phone. Every camera angle fed its truth to my hands. Nothing happened yet. Just Linda on the sofa, scrolling. Noah pacing the kitchen, checking his phone every 30 seconds. Me, a ghost in my own pregnancy. I watched until my eyes ached. At midnight, Noah climbed into bed. He slid an arm around me, fingers warm, breath steady. He thought he was holding his advantage. I thought of my grandmother's hands, how she taught me that silence could be armor. That night, it was. The next morning, Noah announced he had a work convention next week, wed to Frey, as if that wasn't the script he'd just rehearsed in the kitchen. I widened my eyes. So sudden? He shrugged, stretching. Said they're covering the hotel and meals. Too good to say no. He said it casually, but I heard the code beneath it. I'm leaving. She's coming. Pretend nothing. Oh, I said, you should go. Linda clapped like he'd just been nominated for sainthood. Good. Less nosy. She signed. I pretended not to see. My smile was perfect. That Monday, between noon and 2 p.m., I installed the real cameras I'd purchased under the guise of baby safety. Screwdriver, step stool, tired pregnant woman, nesting. No one questioned it. I put the hardware receipts in a box labeled Nursery Upgrade. Easy to explain, easy to ignore. That evening, I told Noah I was craving salted caramel ice cream. He drove us to the grocery store, Linda trailing behind like a shadow that never learned boundaries. We bought mint chip instead because Noah forgot which flavor I'd said. The irony wasn't lost on me. Wednesday morning arrived like a quiet drumbeat. Noah packed a duffel, 2 shirts, laptop, cologne. He kissed my forehead and told me to rest for 2 days. Linda signed, "Enjoy," like she was handing me a funeral program. He drove off at noon. I watched from the living room window until his taillights dissolved into traffic. Then I counted 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3. At 5 minutes, I opened my laptop, all feeds green, hotel room verified, location, 15 minutes away. Of course, I texted Marina. He's gone. She called within 30 seconds. Start recording. Keep everything. I clicked a single button and turned on auto capture. The cameras became scribes. At 6:10 p.m., Noah's car pulled back into the parking lot of our apartment complex. He stepped out with no luggage, only an overnight bag, the same he'd left with. At 6:12, he entered the apartment. Linda met him at the door. Her hands flew. Early. Safe. She won't know. He signed back. Her sister visits tomorrow. Hurry. Linda rolled her eyes. Tonight. Quick. I sat in my hotel room, watching betrayal unfold in a space where I'd once believed we were building a life. The carpet was ugly. The lamp hummed. Nothing about it felt like refuge, except that I could breathe. At 7:54, the doorbell rang.
What's up?
She stepped in like she belonged there. Camille. Soft hair. Gold hoops. A coat too thin for winter. A smile too careless for someone stepping into a pregnant woman's home. Noah hugged her, hands lingering on her back. They kissed. Not the kind of kiss that apologizes, the kind that remembers. Linda shuffled to this kitchen, signing over her shoulder. No mess. No marks. Fast. Camille laughed, lifting her chin in acknowledgement. They ate takeout at my kitchen table. He lit candles. The lavender ones Lena gifted me. I felt the baby turn under my palm. A small, quiet storm. Noah poured wine. Camille touched his wrist. Linda tidied nearby, like a chaperone who coached the affair rather than forbade it. Camille whispered something. He laughed. Then she said, "I'll never forget it, even without audio," because Noah signed back. After birth, I'm done. She can't prove. Linda nodded, her fingers. Good. Keep safe. Her sister smart. For a second, I thought I might break the laptop with my hands. But instead I watched. I breathed. I saved everything. At 9:40, Camille and Noah slipped down the hallway to the guest room. Linda didn't leave. She stayed in the living room, scrolling, guarding, blessing the betrayal like a priestess. They returned an hour later. Camille's hair was mussed, Noah's shirt wrinkled. He kissed her goodbye at the door. A soft kiss, the kind he used to save for me. At 10:52, Noah washed dishes. Linda signed, "After birth, deny." Noah answered, "Of course." I closed the feed, not because I couldn't take more, but because I had enough. Enough to build with, enough to bury with. I placed my hands over my abdomen and whispered to the baby, "We're not alone anymore. We have the truth." That night, I slept for the first time in weeks, like someone who finally knew where the fire was. The next morning, I woke before sunrise. Not from anxiety, from clarity. Once you see the rot, you stop fearing the collapse. You start planning the rebuild. I made toast, the cheap kind I used to eat in college when life tasted simpler. The butter softened just right. strawberry jam smudged across the crust. I ate every bite. It felt defiant. By 8 a.m., Marina called. Her voice was calm, professional, not cold. I reviewed the footage, she said. You weren't imagining any of this. A breath escaped me. Not relief, but a quiet, grim confirmation. Good, I whispered. We'll need full clips, she continued, and timestamps. Don't edit anything. I won't. And this is important. Don't confront him yet. We build quietly. Winning isn't loud. I could have hugged her through the speaker. I understand, I said. She chuckled once. I figured you would. You're not reacting like most people. I stopped reacting when I watched him kiss another woman in my kitchen. A pause. That'll do it, she said softly. I emailed every relevant file to her secure folder and CC'd Blake Carter, the attorney Marina recommended. Their replies came within 10 minutes. From Blake. Received. First, secure finances. Second, do nothing emotional. Third, let me build the legal walls. Call at 2 p.m. I replied with a single word. Yes. Noah returned from his trip around noon. Same duffel, same fake fatigue. He smelled like hotel soap and a lie rehearsed too many times. Hey, baby, he said, leaning in for a kiss. I turned just enough that his lips grazed my cheek. He didn't notice or pretended not to. How was the training? I asked. He yawned, stretching. So boring. Corporate speakers, man. Just drone, drone, drone. I drank my tea. Did you learn anything? He grinned lazily. Yeah, that hotel food sucks. Linda snorted from the couch. Her hands moved. He bought it. Noah replied. She's naive. Just smile. I kept my face serene, chest warm with something like fire. Inside, a translation was burning through every small deception. At 2 p.m., I locked myself in the bathroom and dialed Blake. His voice was dry, unimpressed by anything except precision. Start from the beginning, he said. I did, in order, with facts, no adjectives. He didn't interrupt. When I finished, he exhaled, not in shock, but approval. You've documented more than most clients do over 6 months. I've had practice, I murmured. Good, we'll need it. He explained next steps like instructions for assembling an explosive. Deliberate, controlled, inevitable. Number 1, move only half the funds. Cleanly. Judges hate spite, but they love fairness with foresight. Already done, I said. He paused, just long enough to be impressed. Good, he said. Number 2, we prepare for post-birth paternity filing. You'll request a DNA test before signing any parentage paperwork. Don't announce it, just wait. My heart thudded, not fear, just the weight of inevitability. And number 3, he said, do not, under any circumstances, warn them. I smiled. I'm not in the business of warnings anymore. He chuckled. You'll do well in this process, he said. You think like someone who understands that silence is leverage. Yes, I said. Silence is how they spoke around me. He paused. Then it's how you'll win. That night, Noah suggested we try a new show. He opened wine. Linda retreated to her room. I nestled on the couch like newlyweds do, feet tucked under me, blanket pulled in my lap, a woman playing it normal. Halfway through the first episode, Noah brushed hair from my neck. You okay? He murmured. Just tired, I whispered. He smiled like he believed it. Under the blanket, my fingers drew small circles on my belly. Not nervous, grounded. Linda emerged at one point and signed to Noah. Play nice. Keep close. He nodded, rubbing my shoulder. I sipped my tea and wondered if villains ever realize they're villains, or if they just think everyone else is foolish. The next morning, Linda asked if she and Noah could set up more baby stations, her newest crusade. Of course, I agreed. I watched them from across the room, Linda signing instructions, Noah fumbling with a shelf like muscle memory didn't belong to him anymore. Every movement he made looked wrong on him now, like I was seeing the man beneath the costume. I wondered when he first learned to lie. Before Camille? Before me? Or was deception the family dialect, taught with lullabies and threats? My grandmother used to sign, people show themselves. Believe it. I believed her. I believed what I saw now. Later that afternoon, Lena texted. You safe? I replied. Safe, quiet, gathering. She answered. That's my girl. I breathed easier. There's a kind of strength that comes from knowing even one person on the planet sees you clearly. By the end of the week, I felt as though I'd lived a dozen lives. One where I was a wife. One where I was a mother-to-be. One where I was a ghost, floating behind conversations not meant for me. And one where I was finally, the witness to my own truth. The baby kicked that night as I lay in bed. I placed my hand there, souls touching without language, and whispered, I won't let anyone erase us again. And the flutter answered like, I know. 2 days later, Noah's father Richard arrived. I'd always liked him, a quiet man with a mechanic's steadiness, hands like he'd held both engines and heartbreak. Linda greeted him like a trophy returning to the shelf. Noah played the dutiful son. And I made tea, because polite rituals are armor. At dinner, Richard noticed the way Linda signed to Noah nonstop. Fast, secretive. He frowned, not understanding the content, but sensing the pattern. Later, I caught him alone on the porch. The wind lifted the edge of his jacket. The leaves rattled. He nodded once, like he'd been waiting for me. Is something wrong? He asked quietly. I met his gaze. Yes. His face did not change, just anchored. Can you show me? He asked. I can. I didn't thank him for asking. Some truths deserve witnesses, not believers. Tomorrow, I said, just you and me. He nodded again, as if to say, I'll be there. I won't look away. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel alone. The next morning began with the same choreography of lies. Linda brewed coffee like a priest preparing ritual. Noah fiddled with his phone, pretending to read emails, and I sliced fruit for breakfast. Each cut a steady metronome against the silence. Richard joined us at the table. He was quiet, but not passive. His gaze tracked every flicker of Noah's hands, every sharp motion from Linda. He didn't understand ASL beyond a few basics, but he understood secrecy. Anyone could. After breakfast, I walked him to his rental car. Follow me in 15 minutes, I said softly. No questions yet. Just trust me. His expression didn't shift much. Just a sober nod, like someone settling into the weight of what they already feared. I drove to a cafe across town. Not the one Noah and I used to frequent. Not the one where I'd confronted Lena with whispers of suspicion. A neutral space. New walls. No memories. I chose a corner table with sightlines to the door and to the street beyond. When Richard arrived, he sat across from me, hands folded, jaw tight. I didn't start with words. I opened my laptop, pulled up the time-stamped footage, hit play. Noah unlocking the front door, smiling wide, welcoming Camille into the home where I slept and carried his child. Their bodies linked, a kiss meant for someone he didn't lie to. Food on the table I bought, wine poured into my last unchipped glasses. Richard stared, no flinch, no outburst, just a long, grave stillness. Linda pacing the kitchen in the background, hands flying in quick, sharp signs. Quiet, no mistakes. After birth, deny her. Camille smiled. Noah nodded. Richard's throat worked like he'd swallowed gravel. We watched the footage in silence. Camille and Noah slipping down the hallway. Linda, guardian of infidelity, waiting like a sentry. Then the moment Noah signed, after birth, I'm done. She can't prove it. And Linda's quiet blessing. Good. She's slow. Keep her happy. I stopped there. The silence between us thickened. Not awkward, but absolute. A kind of silence you only get when truth has struck bone. Richard rubbed his forehead. Then his eyes met mine. You've been watching all this, he said. It wasn't a question. Yes. You understood everything they signed this whole time. Yes. He breathed in slowly, like he was trying not to choke on grief. Then he whispered, almost to himself, I knew Linda hid things. I always suspected. But Christ, I never thought she'd teach Noah to do the same. His voice cracked, not with anger, but devastation. There's a difference. A father's disbelief isn't loud. It's quiet, hollow, the kind that echoes inside you for years. I closed the laptop. Richard, I said softly, this isn't about hurting you. I need you to see what I'm up against. He nodded slowly. I appreciate you showing me. Most people would have let me stay blind. I didn't know how to respond. He didn't ask for comfort. He asked for acknowledgement. So I simply said, you deserve the truth. His eyes were glassy, not from tears, but from truth settling deep. What do you need from me? He asked. Nothing, I said honestly. I just wasn't going to let them keep you in the dark too. He gave a short, cracked laugh. No wonder they were nervous when I got here. He stared past me toward the window where cars drifted by, unaware of the small war happening at our table. After a moment, he said quietly, I'm sorry, Mara. The words hit me harder than I expected. Noah hadn't apologized. Linda hadn't even pretended to regret. But Richard, the father, looked at me like I mattered. You didn't do this, I said. I let it fester, he murmured. Linda, she's always controlled the narrative. I ignored too much for too long. He lifted his gaze to mine. I won't do that again. Something in my chest, the tight coil I'd carried for weeks, unwound half an inch. Richard exhaled. When the time's right, he said, I'll handle Linda. As for Noah, his jaw locked. You do what you need to. I won't stand in your way. I nodded. It was more than permission. It was alliance. Not against his son, but against the deceit that raised him. Before leaving, Richard reached into his jacket and placed something on the table. A small pendant, simple, silver, worn from touch. My mother gave this to me when I married Linda, he said. It was meant to be passed to my son or his wife. The tradition stopped making sense a long time ago. He slid it across the wood. I want you to have it, he said. Not for sentiment, but as acknowledgement that you were honest when none of us were. My throat tightened. I didn't want a token, but I recognized the weight of the gesture. So I closed my fingers around it. Thank you, I whispered. Not out of politeness, but gratitude. He nodded once, then stood. I'll talk to Linda when I'm ready, he said. And when you're ready, if you ever need a witness, call me. I believed him. He walked out, shoulders heavier than when he arrived. Some men leave a room with less than they entered. Richard left with truth, and the terrible freedom that comes with it. When I returned home, the apartment looked the same. The nursery still smelled like baby powder. Linda still sat on the couch as if she owned the air in my lungs. Noah kissed my cheek, eyes searching mine for signs he couldn't read. Good day? He asked. I smiled sweetly. Productive. He nodded, relieved. Linda signed behind him. She's calm. Good. Noah signed back. Safe. Still mine. If only they understood how fluency is a blade. I walked into the nursery, closed the door behind me, and rested my hands on my belly. We're almost there, I whispered. Let them speak. Let them sign. We'll answer last. The baby kicked, a small fist against the future. And I finally felt like I wasn't waiting for disaster. I was preparing for it. The following week felt like waiting in the eye of a storm. Still on the surface, but humming with pressure beneath. Noah behaved like a man convinced he'd already won. Linda behaved like a woman teaching a masterclass in deception. And I behaved exactly the way they needed me to. Obedient, soft, blind. There is power in letting someone underestimate you. It's the quietest kind of revenge. I spent my days preparing the nursery, folding onesies into neat rows, sorting bottles, installing the decoy monitors Noah thought were the only cameras in the house. Every time the baby kicked, I paused, held still, whispered, "We are building a future they don't get to enter." At night, I lay beside Noah and let him hold me like we still shared a life. He slept easily. I never did. I wasn't afraid, just awake, sharpening. On Wednesday evening, I received a message from Blake. Trial strategy confirmed. Continue collecting. Silence is winning. Silence, my old friend. I tucked my phone beneath my pillow and went into the kitchen for water. As I passed the living room, I slowed. Linda and Noah sat whispering, hands flicking sharp in the lamplight. Hospital soon. Be ready, Linda signed. After, deny paternity test, Noah replied. Linda held up a finger. No, she asks, we stall. Then say you sign later. Noah nodded. What if test anyway? Linda smirked. We say baby sick, need time, make excuses. Noah hesitated. But Carl, my heartbeat froze. He'll back off. Linda's fingers sliced through the air. He's weak, always was. So that was the plan. String me along, run the clock, force legal fatherhood before the truth could land. Panic didn't hit me. Information did. And information is a weapon. When they noticed I'd been gone too long, they looked up. Oh, Noah said, smiling. We were just talking names again. I answered, lifting my glass. I heard. Linda's smile faltered. Just for a second. 1 second was enough to confirm she knew I suspected something. Good. Let them worry. Let the guilt whisper. Friday, Marina sent an update. Carl is real. Former co-worker. Had financial exchanges with Noah's mother and your husband. Tracking his location. He's in state. Likely knows. Likely scared. A second message followed. There's also another man. Adam Cole. Frequent late-night messaging. Flirtation. Suggestive exchanges. Not confirmed physical. But likely. So it wasn't just Camille. There was Adam. And Carl, possible father. 3 names, 3 betrayals. My baby, my heart, was surrounded by hands that never deserved to touch us. But someone always slips, and Noah was already unraveling. Saturday evening, he returned from running errands with new baby clothes, soft blues and tiny shoes with matching hats. He held them up as if expecting my awe. They're cute, I said simply. Just enough enthusiasm to keep his confidence inflated. That night, while he showered, I felt the baby roll beneath my ribs. I whispered, soon. Sunday afternoon, Noah's phone buzzed on the counter while he and Linda argued in the backyard, hands flying. I wasn't even trying to snoop. The preview lit up the screen. Camille, miss you already. Next time longer. Next time, longer. He had no idea his entire world existed inside my laptop labeled meticulously by date and time. He walked back inside, saw me at the sink, and kissed my temple. "Everything okay?" he asked. I smiled. "Perfect." He never noticed the way I wiped his kiss off with the back of my wrist as soon as he turned away. That night, he climbed into bed behind me, arm draped over my stomach, where his child should have been. I thought about the man who once read to my belly, who whispered future plans into my skin, who painted the nursery walls sky blue because he said, he'll need to dream big. Now that same man signed secret plans to erase me from a future that was never his. I kept breathing evenly, cradling the baby with my hand under his. When he drifted to sleep, I whispered, "You will never have us." The baby responded with a small kick like a promise. 3 nights later, I found the courage to take the next step. Not vengeance, protection. I texted Carl, "We need to talk. It's about the baby. Private, please." He didn't reply right away. Maybe fear kept him still. Maybe denial held his tongue. Either way, he didn't answer. Not yet, but I knew he would. Cowards always break eventually, whether from guilt or exposure. On Thursday afternoon, as I rested on the couch, Linda approached. Her hands struck the air angrily. "Why not sleep upstairs? You look tired." I shrugged. "Just comfortable here." She narrowed her eyes. "Baby needs rest." "I'm resting." Noah worried. My smile flickered. "I'm sure he is." Her eyes sharpened. She signed slow, deliberate. "When baby comes, you listen to Noah. He decides, not you." A chill ran up my spine. I tilted my head, meeting her gaze as if I didn't understand. Inside, my pulse hammered. She thought control was hers because she'd puppeteered a son and a marriage, and maybe even the truth of a baby. She thought wrong. She walked away, smug in her ignorance. I traced small circles on my belly again, anchoring the truth. It would be over soon. 2 days later, Noah suggested another work trip. 1 night only. Out of town. He packed lightly, practiced, polished. Before he left, he crouched beside me, hand on my stomach. "You okay alone?" he asked. "I'm not alone," I whispered. He thought I meant Linda, but the baby kicked then, answering for me. He left with a smile that had never belonged to me. I watched from the window as his car rolled down the street, taillights blinking like a farewell that meant nothing. When he disappeared, I reached for my phone and opened the camera feeds before I even sat down. Within 25 minutes, he walked straight into a boutique hotel, not the one he usually used for company travel. This one was closer, small, private. Camille arrived 10 minutes later. Gold hoops, thin coat, same smile. He kissed her like she was the one carrying his child. I watched them disappear into a room with a privacy sign hanging crookedly on the handle. A hotel manager caught my eye on the feed. Older, tired, but watching them with a shake of the head. People see everything. They just rarely speak. That night, as I lay in bed, hand on my stomach, I whispered, "We are almost free." And for the first time, the baby didn't just kick. He rolled, peaceful, certain, as if he already knew that I had finally chosen us. 2 weeks before my due date, everything accelerated. Truth has a way of collapsing quietly, then all at once. That Tuesday, I was folding tiny socks in the nursery when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "We need to meet. It's about the baby." C. Carl. I stared at the message for a long moment, my heart calm, not racing. I typed, "Tomorrow, 10 a.m., the cafe on Alder and 5th. Come alone." He replied within seconds. "I'll be there." I finished folding the socks, lined them in the drawer like rows of small promises, and whispered, "Soon." That evening, Noah came home early, smelling of hotel soap again and a lie too familiar. He kissed my cheek, placed his hands on my belly, and said all the things a doting husband should say. "How's my boy? You feeling okay? Want Thai for dinner?" I answered softly because softness was my armor. "I'm fine. Thai sounds good." Linda watched us from the table, eyes narrowed, fingers dancing subtle warnings. "She's quiet. Be careful." Noah signed back. "She doesn't know." I nearly smiled. Ignorance makes people confident. Confidence makes people sloppy. That night, I lay awake, listening to Noah breathe. I wondered what lies he whispered into Camille's mouth when they were alone. Did he tell her the same stories he once told me? Did he touch her with the same lazy tenderness he used to save for early mornings, when I was half asleep and still believed we were real? I thought about all the futures I'd imagined. Birthday parties, family road trips, quiet Sunday mornings, and realized none of those futures had his face in them anymore. Maybe they never did. The baby kicked, gentle but persistent. "I know," I whispered. "We're almost done pretending." The next morning I left before Noah woke. Linda was already in the kitchen making her bitter coffee, the kind that smelled like burned earth. She signed aggressively. "We're going." "Errands," I said, slipping on my coat. "I'll be back soon." Her eyes narrowed. "Baby, stay home." "Baby stays with me," I answered, hand on my belly. She hesitated, then signed. "Good. No stress." I nodded, stepped outside, and closed the door. Even cold air felt like freedom. Carl arrived on time, thin, tired, with a face that carried too many apologies. He looked around before sitting, paranoid. Guilt makes people look over their shoulders. "You're Mara?" he asked. "Yes." He swallowed, hard. Thank you for meeting me." I didn't answer, just watched him struggle with his own conscience. He ran his hand through his hair, voice low. "I never wanted this, not this way." "That way," I said evenly, "involve my husband in my house with your child in my womb." His face crumpled. "I know," he whispered. "I'm sorry, I never meant for—" "You paid her," I interrupted. "Why?" His eyes flicked up, shock breaking across his features. "How do you—" "You transferred $5,000, I said, 6 months ago." He stared, then his shoulders sagged. "It wasn't for what you think." "Then explain it." He exhaled, shaking. "Camille. She came to me and said Krista, that's what she called herself, was pregnant. Said it might be mine." My blood chilled, but not from surprise. From the neatness of the lie. "She said she didn't want Noah to know. Said he'd get violent. She asked for money to take care of it." I panicked. Paid her. I sat still, silent. "And you never checked again?" He flinched. "No, I got a text weeks later saying it was handled. That she lost it. I didn't ask more." He shook his head. "I thought it was over." "But then she contacted you again," I said. His eyes widened. "How do you—" "Because she planned everything," I said, voice steady. "She used you, then she used Noah. Now she plans to silence both of you once this baby arrives." He dropped his head into his hands. "I'm so stupid." "No," I said softly. "You were manipulated, but you won't get to hide in your guilt. Not now." He looked up, eyes raw. "What do you want from me?" "The truth," I said. "And a paternity test." He nodded, too fast, too eager. "Yes, anything. If he's mine, I'll take responsibility. I won't run from him." For a moment, just a flicker, I saw something decent in him. Fear, yes. Failure, too. But decency beneath it. "Good," I said. "I'll have my lawyer contact you." He swallowed. "Does Noah know you know?" "No." His eyes dropped. "So you're pretending?" "Yes." He blew out a breath, half laugh, half disbelief. "You're brave." I shook my head. "No, I just stopped being afraid of losing people who were fine losing me." He stared at me with something like respect. "I'll answer anything you ask," he said. "Just don't let him grow up not knowing." I softened, just a fraction. "If he's yours," I said, he'll know. He'll know everything." Carl nodded, eyes glassy. "I'll tell you one more thing," he whispered. "Something you might not know." I leaned forward. "Go on?" "It wasn't just Noah and Camille," he said. Krista, she had someone else, before me." "Adam," I said. He blinked. "You know about him." "Yes." Carl rubbed his face. "She told Adam the same story she told me. That the baby might be his. That he needed to pay." My heart went still. "She got money from him too?" I asked. He nodded. "She gets money from a lot of people." The cafe noise blurred into nothing. My pulse roared. This wasn't just an affair. It was a con. A pattern. A family business. "How many?" I asked quietly. Carl closed his eyes. More than us." I gripped the edge of the table. Not from fear. From focus. She'd built a whole life on the currency of deception, and Noah had walked into it as if he'd been raised for the role. Maybe he was. Carl looked at me, defeated. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I didn't know." I stood. "You do now." He rose too, panic flickering. "Will you tell him? The baby?" "I'll let the test speak," I said. "No more words, no more lies." He nodded slowly. "If you need anything at all, call me." "I will." We parted without shaking hands. Some things don't need sealing. When I returned home, Noah was in the nursery, building a mobile. He looked up, smiling wide. "Where'd you go?" I smiled gently. "Errands." He nodded, satisfied. Linda watched from the doorway, eyes sharp, hands still. For once, she didn't sign. Silence. Their weapon finally turned on them. I touched my stomach, feeling the baby shift. Soon, there would be no secrets left to hide behind. Because truth was already knocking. The night the contractions began felt almost too calm, like the world was holding its breath. Rain tapped against the windows, slow, steady, inevitable. Around 2 a.m., a sharp pain gripped my lower belly, deep enough to yank me out of sleep. I inhaled, counted, waited. Another wave. Stronger. It was time. I sat up, hand on my stomach, whispering to the tiny boy whose life had been born from so many lies. No more secrets, I said softly. You're coming into the world clean. I woke Noah gently. His eyes shot open, full of performative concern, the kind he'd learned well. What's wrong? It's time, I said. He sprang up, playing the role he'd rehearsed, the caring partner, the one who stayed. He helped me downstairs while Linda paced, wringing her hands. Her fingers moved sharply. Don't talk, stick to plan. I didn't sign back, just watched her without blinking. Noah grabbed the hospital bag, guiding me outside. Rain streaked across the windshield as he sped through half-empty streets. He drove with one hand on the wheel, the other gripping mine, like he wanted to tether me to the version of us that existed only in his head. You're going to be okay, he murmured. I didn't answer. I was beyond fear, beyond pretending. Just quiet, like the pause before a storm breaks. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and midnight. Nurses rushed me into a room while monitors hummed around me. Contraction after contraction ripped through me. Hours blurred. Pain and water and breathing. Linda stood at the corner, hands flying constantly. Stay calm. He won't suspect. Not first baby. I focused on breathing, counting between the peaks of pain. Noah wiped my forehead, soft and careful. Too careful, like he was afraid of breaking the illusion. You're doing great, Mara, he whispered. And in that moment, I wondered if he knew. If somewhere inside him, he understood the world he built on lies was cracking beneath his feet. After endless hours, the room shifted. Lights brightened, voices sharpened, hands moved with purpose. One final push, a scream tearing through me. And then, a wail, a boy, red-faced, alive, angry at the universe he'd just entered. The nurse smiled. Congratulations, Mom. Noah choked out a laugh, eyes wet. Linda pressed a hand over her mouth, crying in the triumphant way people do when they believe they've won. They placed him on my chest, warm, tiny, impossibly real. I felt something I hadn't expected. Not grief, not bitterness. Peace. He didn't choose the lies around him, but I could choose what came next. Later, when we were alone with a nurse, papers in hand, she said brightly, "We'll need the father's signature on the birth certificate." Noah reached for the pen. I placed my hand over his. Wait! He froze, eyes darting to mine. I want a paternity test before anyone signs. The nurse blinked. Oh, of course, we can arrange that. Silence crashed into the room. Linda stiffened, hands trembling before rising. What are you doing? Stop this. He doesn't know. I lifted my hands, slow and precise, signs I hadn't used in front of them until now. I know everything. I have for months. Every drop of color vanished from Krista's face. Linda stared at me, mouth open, hands limp. Noah looked between us, wild-eyed. You sign? He whispered. Yes, I said. I always have. His face collapsed, the mask sliding off, panic bleeding through. How long? He choked. Long enough. Linda tried to recover, signing furiously. Lie. She's bluffing. She knows nothing. I signed again, sharper than a blade. I know about Carl, about Adam, about the money, about your plan. Linda's mouth dropped. Noah went pale, his carefully spun life unraveling strand by strand. I turned to the nurse, voice steady. Until test results come back, leave the father line blank. She nodded quickly and slipped out, leaving us in a silence heavier than labor itself. Noah stepped toward me. Mara, please, let's talk. I held his gaze. You'll talk to my lawyer. His eyes filled, not with grief, but fear. Mara, please, don't do this. We can't fix what was never real. He reached for the baby, instinctively, and I shifted away. Don't, I breathed. You don't get to touch him until the truth is clean. Linda stepped forward, voice breaking. You're overreacting. You don't know. I cut her off. You coached your son to build his life on deceit, but you didn't teach him what to do when the person he tried to fool was watching the entire time. Her eyes flashed rage, but she said nothing, because there was nothing left to say. I held my son, heart steady. Noah stood shaking at the foot of the bed. Linda leaned against the wall, deflated. For months, they'd plotted. They'd lied. They'd built a future on a stolen foundation. And now, with one truth spoken aloud, they had nothing. Just silence, the kind that follows a house collapsing. Hours later, I sat alone in the recovery room. Rain still streaked the windows. I whispered to the tiny boy sleeping against my chest. You'll know the truth, always. Because lies birth chaos, but truth? Truth is the scalpel that cuts the infection out. When I was discharged, Noah wasn't there. Linda wasn't either. Just a social worker, a nurse, and papers. I walked out with my son in my arms, and nothing behind me worth turning back for. The air outside was cold and bright, like a new beginning. And I knew this was only the start. Truth had opened the door. Now consequences would walk through it.